Social. They have been compared to human toddlers and the needs of their emotional and social lives, but unlike children, they never grow up. As a result, very few people are capable of caring for the special needs of exotic birds or comprehend the seriousness of the commitment for the bird's lifespan, 20 to 70 years or more, depending on species. Each year, thousands of birds are sold into the pet trade to people who are under the mistaken impression that a bird will make an intriguing and low-maintenance pet. Eventually, whether due to frustration, disinterest, or actual concern for their welfare, many people try to rid themselves of the responsibility of caring for their birds. Unfortunately, few of these birds will find a loving home, and most will spend their days isolated and confined to their cages. Others will bounce from home to home as owners tire of them, and some may be abandoned at local shelters and bird rescues, or set free to fend for themselves, where most will succumb to the elements, starvation, or predation. There are currently over 90 self-described bird rescues or sanctuaries in the United States, many of which have come into existence in just the last few years, with several already filled to capacity. Eileen McCarthy founded and directs the Midwest Avian Adoption and Rescue Service, which, like so many other bird rescue groups, sees a growing problem.
We were astounded by the numbers of birds we started getting in. Many of the birds that we see have suffered years of boredom, isolation, neglect, even abuse. They have been languishing in small, filthy cages, in dark rooms, in corners, people's houses, in basements, in closets. Many birds have spent, most of their day covered up because they've been too noisy. This is something that I think is more common than we care to think about.
While problems faced by captive parrots in the United States continues to grow, so do the problems for wild parrots. Wild-caught birds are still traded within their countries of origin and legally imported into Europe and Asia. At least 1 million birds are imported into the European Union each year. With high mortality, hundreds of birds of different species traded, a myriad of inconsistent and insufficient laws, and the abundance of illegal trafficking, it is impossible to track the exact numbers of birds that fall victim to the wild bird trade. One of the best ways to protect parrots in the wild and captivity may be to eliminate the demand for them as pets.
There'll always be some people who will go outside the law and attempt to illegally bring in birds to augment their captive collection. And I think that's always going to happen. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has actually had a number of instances where they've caught people doing that kind of thing. We can make some headway in decreasing the pet trade if we could find some ways to make it less trendy to own birds. It would be nice to be able to think about ways to actually decrease the desire to have birds for pets.
I often tell people, instead of spending that $1,200 to buy a large parrot, why don't you spend the money on a plane ticket and have a vacation that you will never forget, spending a week or two with those wild parrots. And the value of that, not only in terms of your own experience and bringing that experience back to share with other people, but the value of it in terms of showing local people who live where those parrots are still free that those birds are worth a lot to them economically as wild birds.
History has shown that the increased popularity of exotic animals as pets leads to the subsequent increase of the illegal trafficking of their wild counterparts, whether the animals are captive bred or wild caught. As long as there's a demand and profits to be made, there will be a demand to take animals out of the wild, whether it's for people keeping them as pets, for dealers who want to use them as merchandise, or breeders who are seeking new genetic stock for their aviaries. To protect birds, it's going to take a paradigm shift for people to start seeing birds as they are, as wild animals, and being able to love birds and appreciate birds, but realize that that love does not manifest itself in holding it captive in your home. That we can love birds and appreciate them and leave them alone in the wild where they belong.
forgets he's there and forgets what's where. He sways side to side, a channeler of lost tribes. An owl in a redwood tree, he's rediscovering me. An owl in a cedar tree, he's remembering he's free. Let him be. He sways side to side, a voice to be heard, a voice to be understood. A voice from a desert walk who never sought for peace outside of his own pieces. An owl in a redwood tree, he's rediscovering me. An owl in a cedar tree, he's remembering he is free. Let him be, set him free.